By the looks of it, it's meant to be something to do with Brian. That's all I know. I don't know what's gonna pop up. My guess is gonna be something to do with like the kill in episode 1. Then again, we don't know. But however, let's get straight into it. Very loud. Very loud. Oh, it's his ID. Oh my god. Well, that's Bond talking. That's Bond talking. One thing I'm really curious is the who's screaming woo here? Who's screaming woo? Like that. Who's screaming that? Like that can't be that's not a tone of I'm being killed, right? Like the woo, that's not like woo, Bond's tearing me apart. Woo. Like that's not that, you know what I mean? I mean what my arm gets twisted and broken in half. Woo! That's not Brian. Um that is a very very strange. It's a bird. It does not sound like a bird. That sounds like a person. That sounds like a person, you know what I mean? But it's definitely not Brian. I mean, it can't be. I mean, we're not gonna see Brian get his head squished apart. All of a sudden, his head gets put in half, and he's like, "Woo!" Like you know, it's not. It's definitely not Brian. Could be an L. That's a good show. It could be, but there definitely is some like groan in there. So that I'm guessing that's Brian, but. That's really strange. But see, the thing, an L sounding like that is really strange in a way because, like, when it comes to the owl, it's like, would an owl be like continuously saying it like that? I mean, I've seen owls in the wild and they don't sound like that. And to me, it just doesn't sound like how an owl would do. You know, like I don't know. It doesn't sound animal like. It sounds more human to me anyway. But I feel like the ooh, 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 ooh sounds like the same tone of Bond saying, you can't break an omelet without, or you can't, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Now, to me, that sounds like the same sort of tone. So, could he, maybe Martin could be making the breaking a few eggs line into a certain like theme with Bond. Maybe that could be a certain reference he refers to each time with each victim. So in this case, Brian, because if you listen to Bond's moaning, well, moaning, I really don't. Well, I'll say groaning because if I say moaning, I will probably say pause about 20 times. If we listen to Bond's groaning, it kind of sounds like the same tone of him saying, "You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs." If you listen. There's also stuff hidden there, by the way. Yeah, there's definitely stuff hidden there, boys. Weird how he takes the ID card. Weird. What I'm gonna do though, I'm gonna have to reverse it. It might be a bit loud. No, it's definitely sped up. I think it sounds near enough the exact same. I honestly don't think it's anything. It honestly could just be murmurs. Can I go find my friend on Twitter? Or am I able to? No, I'm not. Okay, why can't you just upload this on YouTube? But I don't know. Like, ah, dude. I definitely hear Brian choking though. I still find it really weird how they take his ID card. I mean, see what I want to know is like with Brian, it is like now known that Brian is gonna get a larger role than what he was given, because we literally know Brian as the dude who just basically drives into the area and gets chalked off the board pretty early. So, however, I did hear a scream at the end if we listen very closely. That's a woman's scream. That's a woman's scream at the end. Right here. Aw, don't tell me that's Rosemary. If there's anyone we can think of screaming in this series, it's Rosemary. Episode 3, that's a traumatic experience. I don't think it would be Sophie. I mean, it could honestly be any of the female characters in the Walten Files, but I think... Excuse me. I think the most common, theory will always be Rosemary because of that scene in episode 3. Why does she need a bigger role? I mean, for me, I think he doesn't necessarily need a bigger role. However, I think he will get a bigger role because of the fact that well, first of all, Martin said he wanted to give Brian a bigger role, and also I feel like when it comes to 82, which is when Brian's killed, realistically, it would make sense considering that's the same year Bunny Farm takes place, and Brian dies 2 weeks before Bunny Farm happens, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, because it's still in the news and stuff. So with the scream, Ashley or Rosemary, I'd be leaning more towards Rosemary because of, that's kind of the main go-to. But then also when you dive into Ashley possibly being the one screaming as well, with the whole thing of specifically she died in K9, this is obviously one of the most up-to-date pieces of footage we can get because it's in 82. And Ashley also died in K9, and when you freeze frame episode 2 after Ashley's death, it literally says that she was in the back room screaming. So it wouldn't necessarily make sense for it to be Ashley or... actually, no, it would make sense to be Ashley because it'd be more recent than Rosemary. So if we're going off who it could be, it could honestly be Rosemary, and it could either be Ashley. And you're probably wondering how could it be Rosemary because of the fact that Rosemary died in 74. Yeah, 74, and this is in 82. But basically, the main reason I think it could still be Rosemary is because the next episode seems to be centered around Rosemary, and if we're getting her death scene again, that could just be a little hint of the screams are coming back. But then if we're going more theoretical and just based off what it could make sense more, what's the word, canonically, Rosemary is the next episode. It would make sense if that's her screaming, because her screaming is notorious for the series. But also it would also make sense if it was Ashley, because she died in K9 and that takes place in K9. Actually it was 78, so I was right. Hey, look at me. Always stick to your gut, chat. But yeah, no, basically that it's a really interesting video because it pretty much does put a staple in the fact that Brian's gonna get a bigger role. Why would they post that? Why would Brian all of a sudden be, oh yeah, Brian, that dude who died all the way in the first episode, who no one really remembers unless you say him, he's popping back up. That'd be interesting. I think it'd be really interesting if Sophie and Brian were more were friends. I think it'd be really awesome. Brian wouldn't know Sophie, so it wouldn't really make sense. But no, Sophie wouldn't know Brian because she doesn't know him when Jenny tells Sophie about his disappearance. But it could very be possible that Brian knows Sophie. You never know. It could be the photos on the wall, especially with the new footage that came into episode 1 with the re-upload of Brian shining the flashlight on the family photos and stuff. So maybe Brian could go, oh, hold on, who's that? Like, that sort of thing? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe the woo is Brian screaming. I mean, it wouldn't make sense for him to be screaming, considering... or for that to be him screaming, because I'm pretty sure he's on the ground, and there's some audio in there that sounds like a gargle, and I guarantee that's him gargling on his own blood. And that's like, it would make sense that he drops his ID card. First shot of this episode, Tammy picks this house.
Oh, what about that one?
Now, if you ask me, that is the, worst house you can pick. It has wallpaper on the outside.